Hey everybody, Ryan here at etrailer.com. Today on our 2019 Ford Ranger, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster 12 volt 20 amp outlet kit. If you plan on flat towing your Ford Ranger with a portable braking system, this is where our outlet is really going to shine. It's going to provide us with power even when the key is in the off position. We're not going to have to worry about losing power for our portable braking system because regardless of what position the key is in, our outlet is going to give us power. Now, many of our customers wonder if this will drain our battery, and the answer is both yes and no. When it's like this and nothing is plugged in, our battery will not drain at all. However, as soon as you plug something in, it will use battery power. So for example, if you're using that portable braking system or anything else for that matter, it wouldn't be a bad idea every now and again to start up your truck and get that battery recharged. As you can see, our dash is not lit up or nothing is on, so our truck is in the off position and has no power. And if we come down here to our outlet and plug our charger in, you can see we're going to have power, 12.4 volts to be specific. Just to give you a comparison, once again with our truck off, if we try to plug this into our factory outlet, we're not going to have any power until we turn on our truck. Now, even though our outlet is going to primarily be used for our braking system, keep in mind that you still can use it for other things like charging your phone or any other accessories you might have. Now, one of the things I like about this outlet compared to some of the others available is that this one is going to be much more compact and not as bulky. That means it's going to be easier to mount. Now, some of our customers, the only issue they had was the bracketry being a little too small to fit our outlet through it. Now, during the installation, I'll show you the trick that I used to make it work very easily. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and do that together now. To begin our installation, we're going to open up the inside of a Ranger, and we're going to be working over here on the driver's side. Now, we want to make sure that the key is in the off position, that way nothing has power. And then we're going to need to locate our fuse box, that way we can find a power source for our plug. Now, it just so happens that we do have a fuse panel right here under the steering wheel. We'll just grab this handle and pull outward, and that panel will drop down. There's where the fuse box is, and that's where we're going to have to do some testing to find that power source. Now, I'm going to use a test light to see what fuse we're going to use. Now, we're looking for one that has power on both sides with, like I said, the key in the off position. So if we come up here to this top 30 amp fuse, which will be fuse number 29, it's going to have power on both sides. Now, it's always a good idea to check with your owner's manual to make sure whatever fuse you're going to use doesn't protect anything of a ton of importance like your PCM or BCM. And it actually works out perfectly because this 30 amp fuse that we're going to use is actually a spare, and it's not going to be protecting anything important. Since we located and identified what fuse we're going to use, we'll go ahead and take some needle nose and pull it out. Now, here's our fuse that we removed, and here is an included fuse tap that comes with our wiring. Now, what we need to do is get this small end around our fuse. It could be a little tricky like that, and these tabs can be kind of brittle. So to make it easier, I'm going to very carefully take a pair of pliers. And this would be gentle and just bend that tab down a little bit. And take our fuse. And work one of the ends through, like that. And then we can just push back on our tap and straighten it out. And this is what our setup will look like once it's completely prepared. Now with our fuse and our tap connected together, we can push it back into place. Since our power source is figured out and set up, we need to now focus on our ground. Now I found that this bolt here that is attaching some of this metal bracketry, this actually grounds out to our chassis, so we're going to remove this 8mm bolt and use that for our ground. What we can do is take our new wiring, and we're going to take the side that has the ring terminal attached to it. Going to feed our bolt through. And it is a little tight, so you might have to kind of work that bolt through there. And then we can just reinstall it. Just be sure whenever we get it completely tightened that our wire is going to be kind of sitting over here. That way it doesn't get pinched or hung up on anything. Now we can take the end with the pre-attached spade terminal, and we're going to plug this connector over our fuse tap. And I went ahead and dropped our end down through that opening to bring it underneath the dash. And now we can close our panel up, give us a little more room to work. Now what we can do is get our bracket on the end, that way we can mount our plug. Now when it comes to getting the bracket over our plug, I did run into a couple of issues. Regardless which way you try to put it on, whether it be this way, or whether you disconnect the wires at the back and feed the bracket up through like this, it's just too small. Our connector end is too big to fit through there. So what I'm actually going to do to solve that problem is use a stepper drill bit and a drill and slowly open this hole up and test fit our plug until it fits in there. Now you want it to fit in there snugly, but not extremely tight or really loose. With my hole enlarged, it's now big enough to slide our connector through and still be snug enough to keep it firmly in place. Now we can mount everything, and where I'm going to mount it is right here on the side of our kick panel. That's going to be out of the way, but yet still easy to access. Now you don't have to mount it here, you can choose your preferred location. However, I think this is a good idea. Now before we drill our self-tapping screws into the kick panel, you want to make sure that there's nothing of importance behind it, like any wires or anything like that. So right back here in this area, it's empty, so we're all good to go. Now I went ahead and took all that extra wiring that we had and just kind of bundled it up and tucked it here behind our kick panel to keep it out of the way and keep it looking good. Now with everything hooked up, we need to test it to make sure it's working properly. So I'm just going to grab a charge port that we have laying around, and when we plug it in, our screen should light up. So with our screen illuminated, you know our port is working properly. And that'll do it for our look at and our installation of the Roadmaster 12 volt 20 amp outlet kit on our 2019 Ford Ranger.